$340. That's what one homeowner in Ohio spent in 2019 to cut his winter heating bill by almost 40%. Not a new furnace. Not a $12,000 spray foam job from some contractor in a company truck with his name airbrushed on the door. $340, a Saturday afternoon, and a material that's been sitting on hardware store shelves this whole time, quietly, while insulation contractors keep telling you that you need a full attic tear-out to fix your heat loss problem. Dealers will never tell you this. Contractors will never tell you this. And neither will the guy who makes his living gutting your attic and replacing everything in it with material you probably didn't need in the first place. Before they ban this, and there's already talk in certain code circles of tightening restrictions around reflective insulation products dressed up as a safety update, you need to understand exactly what's been hidden from you and why. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you know how to do this yourself, you will never look at a bag of blown-in fiberglass the same way again. 0.5. 2. Problem setup. Here's who benefits from you staying confused. Big insulation manufacturers, the contractors who install their systems at 3, 4, sometimes 5 times the material cost, and a permitting and code apparatus that treats simple radiant barrier upgrades like an afterthought instead of the primary weapon they actually are. Let's go back. 1973. The oil embargo hits, energy prices spike overnight, and the federal government, for a brief window before the industry lobbyists got organized, actually pushed radiant barrier and reflective insulation technology hard. It was standard advice. Government pamphlets, cooperative extension bulletins, energy office handouts, all of them talking about reflective foil in attics as a legitimate, low-cost defense against heat gain and heat loss. Then something changed. Somewhere in the 80s and into the 90s, as the fiberglass bat industry consolidated into a handful of major manufacturers, the installation trade itself shifted. Radiant barrier install technique quietly stopped being taught to new contractors coming up through the trade schools. Ask any insulation crew foreman right now, off the record, what R-value doesn't tell you, and watch him go quiet, or watch him change the subject to how many bags of blown-in he can move this week. Here's the technical detail they don't want getting airtime. R-value measures conductive heat resistance, how well a material resists heat moving through it by direct contact, molecule to molecule. That's it. That's all it measures. It says nothing, absolutely nothing about radiant heat transfer. And in a hot attic, radiant heat transfer is doing most of the damage. In summer, radiant heat pours down off the underside of the roof deck, heats up your ceiling joists, and radiates down into your living space no matter how many inches of bat you've stacked on the attic floor. In winter, that same radiant pathway works in reverse. Heat generated inside your home rises, escapes upward past your attic floor insulation, and radiates out through the roof deck into the night sky, especially on clear, cold nights when radiational cooling is at its worst. That's the detail that gets buried in every single sales pitch you've ever heard from an insulation contractor. They sell you thickness, they sell you more R-value, more mass, more cost, add another 6 inches of blown in, upgrade your bats from R30 to R49, more money, more labor, more truck rolls to your driveway. But the leak they're not addressing, the one costing you the most in a properly insulated older home, is radiant, not conductive. And a radiant leak doesn't get fixed by piling on more mass. It gets fixed by putting a reflective surface in the right place, facing the right direction, so the radiant energy bounces back instead of passing through. This is not a fringe theory some guy came up with on a forum. This is basic building science that used to be common knowledge in the trade and got buried under 30 years of sales incentives pointed in exactly the wrong direction. Smart contractors who've been doing this for 20, 25 years, guys who built their reputation on word of mouth instead of a marketing budget, already know this. They don't advertise it because there's no money in a $200 roll of foil compared to a $5,000 re-insulation job. But ask them privately. Get a beer in them and they'll tell you the fix isn't more mass. It's a reflective barrier. Perforated aluminum radiant barrier foil, sometimes labeled RBS insulation, sometimes sold under brand names you'll recognize from the hardware store shelf, gets stapled directly to the underside of your roof rafters. Reflective side, facing down, toward the attic space below. What that does is reflect radiant heat back toward the roof deck before it ever gets a chance to soak downward into your attic floor insulation, your ceiling joists, or your living space. This isn't theory. This is documented, and it's been documented for decades by people whose entire job was studying exactly this. The Florida Solar Energy Center ran attic temperature studies for years, one of the most thermally brutal climates in the country for testing this kind of thing. And their published data showed attic air temperature reductions in the range of 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit in radiant barrier retrofitted attics compared to untreated ones during peak summer conditions. Oak Ridge National Laboratory, a Department of Energy research facility, published similar radiant barrier performance data going back decades. confirming meaningful reductions in ceiling heat flux when reflective barriers were properly installed with an air gap facing the roof deck. This is documented federal and university-affiliated research. It never made it into mainstream home improvement advice at scale because there's no incentive for a big box retail contractor crew to sell you a $200 roll of perforated foil when they can sell you an entire attic re-insulation job instead with a financing plan attached, and a follow-up visit in 10 years to sell you the same job again once the blown-in has settled and compressed to half its original loft. This is exactly why old house buyers who actually know what they're doing, mechanics, contractors, tradesmen who fix things themselves instead of hiring it out, specifically look for homes with open, unfinished attics when they're house hunting. Not because unfinished attics are more valuable on paper, because retrofitting radiant barrier into an open rafter attic takes a single afternoon. It's not a demolition job, it's not a multi-day crew job, it's a staple gun, utility knife, a roll of foil, and a Saturday. Compare that to what happens in a finished attic, a knee wall attic, or a cathedral ceiling situation where the rafter bays are already closed up behind drywall. In those cases, you're either dealing with a much more invasive retrofit, or you're limited to attic floor treatments instead of rafter treatments. That's part of why this fix specifically favors people with a standard pitched roof attic, unfinished, with exposed rafters and exposed roof deck sheathing. If that's your situation, you are sitting on the easiest and cheapest thermal upgrade available in residential construction today, and almost nobody is telling you that here's exactly what to buy and exactly how to do it, step by step, no guessing. What to buy? Perforated reflective radiant barrier foil, sold in rolls, typically 48 inches wide, sometimes wider depending on the manufacturer. You'll find it at most well-stocked hardware stores, building supply yards, or ordered online in bulk rolls covering anywhere from 500 to 1,000 square feet per roll. Buy the perforated version specifically, not the solid, non-perforated foil. This matters, and I'll explain exactly why in a minute, because getting this wrong is the single most common mistake first-timers make, and it's the mistake that gives radiant barrier a bad name when people do it wrong and then blame the material instead of the installation. How much to buy? Measure your attic floor square footage first, length times width of your attic space. Add roughly 10 to 15% extra to account for overlap between rows and trim waste around vents, chimneys, and roof penetrations. If your attic floor is 1,500 square feet, you're looking at roughly 1,700 square feet of material, which usually means 2 to 3 rolls depending on the roll size you buy. Why perforated matters? Solid, non-perforated foil acts as a vapor barrier. If you staple solid foil to the underside of your rafters, facing an already ventilated attic space, you can trap moisture vapor that migrates up from your living space against the underside of your roof deck. Over time, in the wrong climate and the wrong ventilation setup, that trapped moisture can lead to condensation on the roof sheathing, which can lead to mold, which can lead to sheathing rot. That is the legitimate failure mode that gives radiant barrier a bad reputation in some circles, and it's almost always caused by using the wrong product or installing it in the wrong location without adequate ventilation. Perforated foil lets moisture vapor pass through the material instead of trapping it, which avoids this problem entirely while still reflecting the vast majority of radiant heat. Start at the top of the roof slope near the ridge and work your way down toward the eaves. This gives you better control of overlap and keeps water, if any ever gets in during a roof leak, draining down and off the material instead of pooling behind an upward-facing seam. Position the foil against the underside of the rafters with the reflective, shiny side facing down into the attic space, not facing up against the roof deck. This is critical. The reflective surface needs to face the space you're trying to protect, the living space below, not the roof deck itself. Facing it the wrong way dramatically reduces its effectiveness because the reflective benefit only works facing the direction heat is trying to travel through. Leave a minimum air gap of about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch between the foil and the roof deck sheathing above it, and ideally an air gap below the foil as well if you have existing insulation. Radiant barrier works because of that air gap. It needs open air on the reflective side to actually reflect radiant energy. If you compress it directly against another material with no airspace, you lose most of the benefit, and it starts behaving more like a very thin, very poor conductive insulator instead of a radiant reflector. Staple the foil directly to the underside of the rafters using a standard staple gun, working row by row down the roof slope. Overlap each row by roughly 2 inches over the row above it, similar to how you'd overlap roofing shingles or house wrap. So any moisture or dust naturally sheds downward across the overlap instead of catching in an upward-facing seam. Staple approximately every 12 inches along each rafter to keep the material taut and prevent sagging over time. Trim carefully around obstructions, roof vents, chimney chases, plumbing stacks, electrical fixtures, recessed can light housings if any protrude into the attic space. Maintain clearance around any heat-producing fixtures, per the fixture manufacturer's clearance requirements. Don't lay reflective material directly against or wrap it around anything designed to dissipate heat, like an older non-IC rated recessed light housing, without checking the fixture's specific clearance rating first. Tools needed: a standard staple gun. A heavy-duty stapler rated for at least 3/8-inch staples will hold up better than a light-duty office stapler gun. A utility knife for trimming. A tape measure. Work gloves because raw foil edges can be sharp. Basic dust protection. A simple dust mask is enough for most attics. You don't need a full respirator for this job unless your attic has existing loose fill insulation with significant dust, or you have a known mold or rodent contamination issue, in which case address that separately first. Timeline. A single person working alone can typically complete a 1,500 square foot attic radiant barrier installation in one full day, sometimes a single afternoon if the rafter layout is straightforward with minimal obstructions. Two people working together can usually finish a job that size in 3 to 4 hours. What to do with existing insulation? If your attic floor already has loose fill or batt insulation down, leave it exactly where it is. This is not a replacement for your existing conductive insulation. It's a second independent layer of defense against a completely different mode of heat transfer that your existing insulation was never designed to address. The two work together. Your floor insulation slows conductive heat transfer through the material itself, while your new rafter-mounted radiant barrier reflects radiant heat before it ever reaches that floor insulation in the first place. Who benefits most? Anyone in a home built before the early 1980s is sitting on the biggest opportunity here, because those homes were built entirely around conductive R-value guidance that existed at the time, with essentially zero consideration for radiant heat transfer in the attic space. If your house predates that shift in building codes, you are almost certainly leaking far more energy through radiant pathways than your insulation inspection report, if you've ever had one done, would suggest, because standard home energy audits still overwhelmingly focus on R-value and air sealing, and radiant transfer rarely gets mentioned at all